Good morning, St. Francis. It is Tuesday, November the 17th, 2020. Also, the memorial of St. Elizabeth of Hungary. Coming to you from one of the outdoor classrooms, or the outdoor classroom, I don't think there's any more. But the outdoor classroom here at the Franciscan School. The wetlands are behind me, the covered walkway there in the distance that leads between the upper and the lower schools. But this outdoor classroom, a very wonderful, beautiful setting to be able to educate in the midst of God's creation. The sun is peeking up over through the trees, another Carolina blue sky as it's a little bit cooler today. And I'm wearing a kangaroo on my hat. Real kangaroo on my head. Yes. Today's memorial is actually raised to a feast in the Franciscan calendar because St. Elizabeth of Hungary, along with St. Louis, is the patron of the secular Franciscans, the third order of laymen and women in the Franciscan movement. St. Elizabeth of Hungary was born to the King of Hungary, then marries the Duke of Thuringia, a province in Germany in the center northwesty kind of place. The interesting thing about the province of Thuringia is that it is the province from which Holy Name Province, here in the United States, descends. Back in the 1800s, 90 friars leave Thuringia, the province of St. Elizabeth, and they establish themselves here in the United States and become eventually Holy Name Province. So remember St. Elizabeth for her work with the poor and the downtrodden, for not letting the dignity of royalty or whatever of royalty stand in the way of being able to help out those who were most in need of being helped. Herself, she became a secular Franciscan and so becomes patroness of the secular Franciscans. Today's gospel is Zacchaeus, that wonderful little encounter that Jesus has with a man who is a tax collector, hated by all because he takes money not only for Rome, but he takes money for himself because that's how he would be paid. So he gouges his brother and sister Jews in a tremendous way so that he can become rich as they become poor. He hears that Jesus is coming through the town. He is too short and small, though, to see him in the crowd, so he climbs a tree, becomes almost a laughingstock because he is doing so, this man of respectability, climbing a tree to be able to see Jesus, and Jesus notices him. And Jesus does what Jesus does. He invites himself over for dinner. And he does. And he has dinner with Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus' life is transformed. And again, he pays back, triple, double, 100-fold what he has taken. He will never cheat people again. Two interesting things. The first is that conversion happens at a meal with Jesus. Conversion happens at a meal. It is not necessarily as a prelude to the meal. It is not necessarily as a precursor to the meal. Conversion happens because one eats and drinks with Jesus. Sometimes our understanding of Eucharist can be tightened up a tad bit because we think that we need conversion before we have a meal with Jesus, when actually eating with Jesus, eating and drinking Jesus, is what leads to change of heart, a new understanding of who and what we are and what we are called to be in this world. The second thing, though, is very interesting, is that even though Zacchaeus has this change of heart, he does not stop being a tax collector. He does not leave behind this life. And why? Well, because what else would he have done? That's the question. Would he have been able to feed his family, to keep up things that needed to be kept up in his life, if he just abandoned everything and walked away? Jesus does not ask him to do that, does not ask him to give up everything and walk away. It's a very interesting kind of experience. The question is, what kind of tax collector does Zacchaeus then become after this encounter with Jesus? Which is a question for all of us who live lives where faith should not be put on the side, necessary for when we need it, but the understanding that faith is meant to shape and mold everything that we do and all that we understand ourselves to be. We are not just to be people who are Christian on a Sunday and who basically do our prayers when we have the free time to do it. But how does being a Christian, a believer in this world, shape what we do and who and what we are? What kind of person do we become when we encounter Jesus, when we acknowledge the gift of faith that we are given? And may the Lord give you peace.